What's up, guys? Welcome back to Bourbon Blind. I'm Kyle. We taste whiskey. We don't know what it is. We give you a price that we'd be willing to pay for it without actually knowing what it is. That being said, little something extra for you guys. One of the Whiskey Tube channels, they wanted to know, of the other whiskey tubers out there, what are your 5 go back to whiskeys? What do you drink on a normal basis? And these are things that, it's nice to say, oh, this is the greatest whiskey. This is, so good, blah, blah, blah. But behind the scenes, like, what do you grab on a daily basis? So what I did was I went back and I'm actually saving a lot of my empty bottles for a really cool project in a new bar, hopefully. And what I did was I went back and I counted each of my empties. And from that list, obviously, this is what I drank the most of. So I'm not going to say how many empties there were, but it's a good reference point for what you drink on a daily basis, because you might say, oh, I really like this bourbon. But at the same time, is that really what you're grabbing on a daily basis? So I approached it with a little more scientific point of it, and this is what I came up with. So I know they said 5 go back to whiskeys, but I have 2 honorable mentions and that is a very old Barton, bottled in bond. And to me, this is just one that if you can get it in your area, I know a lot of people have a trouble getting the Barton bottled in bond. It's really good. It really is. It's just one thing you're going to notice about my whiskeys that I go to on a daily basis is they're very well-rounded. They're easy to sip on. They're well-rounded. They have complexity, but they're not something that you have to think about. One of the things that I usually go to for my whiskeys is 2 criteria. That being, it's readily available on the shelf and under $50 a bottle. To me, that is a reasonable bourbon. To you, it might be $20, it might be $100. I don't know. But this is what I grab on a daily basis. So, that being said, the very old Barton, bottled in bond. Honorable mention, number 2. Honorable mention number 1, going up in the panel, Russell's Reserve. This is one, and this is actually a store pick, but this is one that I grab fairly regularly, and it is phenomenal. Without saying too much about it, it is really phenomenal. But that being said, usually it's around that $60 to $65 price mark. So for me, it's harder to grab it on a daily basis, and it doesn't really fit into that criteria of under $50 and readily available. I can get regular bottles of the single barrel at my local store. However, the store picks are obviously a little more harder to get. It is a phenomenal bottle and definitely deserves recognition in my top 5 as honorable mention, top place, because it is so well-rounded and so delicious that it has to be mentioned. At 110 proof, with how delicious it is and how robust and complex yet so subtle across the board, it definitely deserves mentioned. Getting to our main top 5. Number 5 is the 4 Roses Small Batch. Usually about 30 bucks a bottle. It is a little bit spicy. It has a little bit of heat on it as far as ethanol goes. I really like it as far as something that I don't have to think about when I'm watching a movie with the wife or anything like that. Especially if I'm making a cocktail, this is what I'm grabbing. Usually I'm not big on cocktails, but what I do go for is things like a mint julep. Really like them. Kentucky Mule, that kind of stuff. Old Manhattans or regular Manhattans, not something I make on the regular, but usually if I do, I'm grabbing the 4 Roses Small Batch. It's got enough flavor to stand up to a cocktail, but at the same time, it's not so expensive that I feel bad about using it, but it does have a really good flavor. Even if you're making cocktails, the bourbon does matter. I know, you're going to throw cherries in there and simple syrup and all this other stuff, but it really does matter. So, number 4 on my list is Buffalo Trace. Yes, this is a single barrel, but that's just because I don't have access to the regular Buffalo Trace anymore. My store's having a hard time getting it. That being said, if you can still get it, it is $25, $26, phenomenal value. That's actually what is in here. And it's another one that it's fairly light on flavor compared to a lot of your barrel proof offerings and that kind of stuff. But it has a nice wide range of flavors. So you're not going to get that big punch in the face. But again, we're talking about stuff that I drink on a daily basis, not the more Elijah Craig barrel proof and that kind of stuff. It is 90 proof. It is easy to drink. It has enough flavor and enough complexity that you want to drink it, but not so much that you have to think about it, or it's not expensive enough that you have to think about what you're drinking. Number 3 on the list, Rebel Yell Small Batch. I know I'm probably going to catch some flack for this, and some other the whiskey tubers and the whiskey community in general is like, oh my gosh, you're promoting Rebel Yell, and it's whatever, it's horrible. The Rebel Yell Small Batch Reserve, I really enjoy it. I really do. It is 90 proof, I believe, 90.6 proof, and it is very easy to drink. It is a wheater, so just like your Weller and that kind of stuff. And I will say it doesn't have quite the darkness and the depth of flavor that the Weller does, but it is very good, very easy to drink. And this is something that I always keep in the house. And actually, my local store ran out of this, and I hope they're getting more in. So, that's that Buffalo Trace. I didn't think that it was fair to have an unopened bottle in here for stuff that I drink all the time. And like I said, I didn't have access to the regular Buffalo Trace, so I went and grabbed one of my store picks that I had in the bunker. So we're getting down to the top 2. These are ones that I regularly go after the most. They're ones that I find fit my palate the most. They're the most complex, the most flavorful, but at the same time, still keep a reasonable price point. Remember, they got to meet that 2 criteria. Under $50 and readily available. Those are my 2 biggest criteria that I go for by myself. One of them, number 2, you can probably see just the top of it in the camera. And that is Wild Turkey 101. Yes, I know that's what you got drunk on in high school. Yes, I know that's what you had at parties, and you probably cringe at the thought of it. But this is something that you can sip neat, and even in my very beginning whiskey days, this was something that I would keep around because it was high enough proof, and it tasted good enough that you could drink it straight. However, it wasn't so expensive that if your buddies came over and they mixed it with some Coke, you would feel bad about it. Wild Turkey 101, if you haven't given it a shot, as far as the sipping it neat and giving it some time, letting it open up, I highly recommend it. It has very good flavors. It is very complex. It's much more complex than you would think for the price point, especially for what you used to drink in college and all that kind of stuff. This is just one that I go to, like I said, on a regular basis. It has those nice flavors that is very mouthful, not so much that it kicks you in the face, not like a barrel proof, but they are there and they want to be noticed. And that is a good thing in my book. That brings us to our last point, which is number 1 on the list. Drum roll, please. Four Roses Single Barrel. The regular off-the-shelf single barrel Four Roses, to me personally, like I said, I made a list of everything that I drank on a daily basis, and this came out at the top for the number of empty bottles that I have. It actually came out by a few bottles. The reason for that is it's complex, it has good flavor, it's very easy to drink, and it meets that under $50 and readily available criteria. That being said, to me, this has the most subtleties, the most nuances, the most small little things that you're going to notice in there that while you're drinking it, it's pleasurable. It is, the 101 and the single barrel are both very complex. If you want something that's going to more kick you in the face and say, hey, this is me, this is what I am, enjoy me or else, the 101. Love it all day long. Complex, it's all there, more kick you in the face. The single barrel is the one that is a little more laid back. It's the guy standing in the back of the room, kind of watching everything going on. He's looking, he's seeing, he notices everything that's going on, but he doesn't quite speak up. He's the one back there watching everything going on. He watches it all go down. This is that guy. So, for me, these are the two that stand out from the batch. These are the three others that I go after the most, along with the Very Old Barton Bottled in Bond and the Russell's Reserve. This is what I grab on a daily basis. This is what the wife and I are sitting down to watch a movie. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to have to pay attention to it, but at the same time, I want something that has those complexities, that has those nuances. All of these, all 7 of these, are going to give you that. They are low in price enough that you don't have to feel bad about it. The only save for that being maybe the Russell's, which is a little more expensive, but it deserves the price. And all of these are going to be your very even keel and more nuanced than, say, your Jim Beam, your Jack Daniels, your that kind of stuff. And these are things that I grab on a daily basis. I know I've said it before, but I went through the more scientific process of counting my empty bottles and seeing, in reality, what do I grab the most? Because, like I said, it's one thing to say, hey, I think this, Kentucky Owl is a great, fine drink. And it is. But is that really what you're grabbing every day? You know what I mean? It's kind of like asking a car guy, what do you think is the best car? And what would you actually drive on a daily basis? 2 different answers. Because what you would drive on a daily basis, you know what I mean? The Ferrari F40 GT is a phenomenal vehicle, but you're not driving that to and from work every day. Let's face it, it's reality. Same kind of thing. You're not drinking Pappy 23 every day. This is what I'm grabbing right here. The Wild Turkey 101 and the Four Roses single barrel. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it. These are my top drinks right here. Top 7. Go back to Whiskies. Yes, they're all bourbon. That's what I drink the most. I do enjoy some good Irish whiskey, but for the most part, I enjoy bourbon and rye whiskey. If I had to give an honorable mention to a rye whiskey, it would definitely either be Rittenhouse or Pikesville. But that's neither here nor there. So go ahead and find us on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, Teespring. Everything is at Bourbon Blind. Instagram, we got cool stuff on what we're doing, what we're drinking that day. These. Patreon, we got some stuff for you guys. T-shirts, glasses, bottles of whiskey, all that kind of stuff. Go check it out. Facebook, we're always hitting what new episodes are out. Twitter, we don't do a whole lot with. Usually it's just our Instagram posts reposted to Twitter. But all that being said, we appreciate you guys. Until next week, drink blind.
Real free.